Welcome to Stoic Daily X, where ancient wisdom meets modern challenges. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a powerful Stoic concept that can transform how you approach every problem in your life: the circle of concern versus the circle of influence. This principle, while not named as such by the ancient Stoics, perfectly encapsulates their core teaching about focusing our energy where it truly matters. Modern Stoic practitioners have adapted this concept from Stephen Covey's work, recognizing how perfectly it aligns with what Epictetus taught almost 2,000 years ago. Some things are within our power, while others are not. Imagine drawing two circles on a piece of paper. The larger outer circle represents your circle of concern, everything you care about. This includes world events, politics, the economy, other people's opinions, the weather, traffic conditions, and countless other circumstances. Inside that is a smaller circle, your circle of influence, representing things you can directly affect through your actions and choices. The fundamental insight of Stoicism is that true peace of mind comes from directing our energy toward our circle of influence, while accepting, not ignoring, but accepting, what lies only in our circle of concern. This subtle but profound shift in focus can dramatically reduce anxiety, increase your effectiveness, and help you navigate life's challenges with greater resilience. Let's make this concrete with a common scenario. Imagine you're stuck in heavy traffic on your way to an important meeting. Your circle of concern includes the traffic itself, the timing of traffic lights, other drivers' behaviors, and the construction causing the delays. None of these are directly under your control. Your circle of influence, however, includes your reaction to the situation, your decision about whether to call ahead and notify others of your delay, and perhaps your future planning to allow more time or take alternative routes. When you focus exclusively on your circle of concern, fuming about the traffic, cursing the construction schedule, or mentally criticizing other drivers, you expend emotional energy on things you cannot change. This leads to frustration and stress without improving your situation. However, when you shift attention to your circle of influence, taking a deep breath, making that call to inform others, or using the time to listen to an educational podcast, you not only feel better, but also take effective action within your control. The Stoics expressed this principle through various teachings. Epictetus, in his Enchiridion, wrote, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." Marcus Aurelius echoed this sentiment in his Meditations. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This approach doesn't mean ignoring larger concerns or becoming passive about problems. Rather, it means recognizing where your energy can be most effectively applied. Consider the difference between worry and concern. Worry is repetitive, unproductive thought about problems without taking action. Concern, when channeled through your circle of influence, becomes productive engagement with what you can change. Let's explore another everyday example: relationship conflicts. When disagreements arise with a partner, family member, or colleague, our circle of concern includes their thoughts, feelings, past behaviors, and personality traits. None of these are directly under our control. Our circle of influence includes our own communication choices, our willingness to listen, our ability to set healthy boundaries, and our decision to seek understanding. Many relationship conflicts escalate precisely because both parties focus on changing what's in their circle of concern, the other person's perspective, rather than exercising what's in their circle of influence, their own responses. One viewer shared how this principle transformed their marriage. "Instead of trying to make my husband see things my way, I started focusing on expressing myself clearly and listening with genuine curiosity. The fights that used to last days now resolve in minutes." The Stoic approach doesn't mean abandoning hope for change in others or in situations. Rather, it means recognizing that such change comes indirectly, through the thoughtful exercise of our own influence. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This principle becomes especially powerful when facing major life challenges like health issues. When diagnosed with a serious illness, your circle of concern includes the diagnosis itself, the inherent limitations of medical science, and your body's natural processes. Your circle of influence includes seeking qualified medical advice, following treatment recommendations, maintaining healthy habits where possible, and, critically, your attitude toward the situation. Before we continue exploring this powerful concept, I want to invite you to join our growing community of modern Stoics. If you're finding value in these practical philosophical insights, please subscribe to Stoic Daily X and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us spread this life-changing wisdom to more people who need it. Now, let's return to our exploration of influence versus concern. The circle of concern versus circle of influence principle becomes particularly valuable during times of widespread uncertainty, economic downturns, political upheaval, or global health crises. During such periods, our news feeds overflow with concerning developments, many of which affect us, but few of which we can directly influence. Consider how you approach economic uncertainty. Your circle of concern might include inflation rates, central bank decisions, global supply chains, and market fluctuations. Your circle of influence includes your spending habits, savings rate, skill development for career resilience, and perhaps community involvement to support local economies. By focusing primarily on the latter while staying appropriately informed about the former, you maintain both effectiveness and peace of mind. This Stoic approach doesn't advocate for disconnection from larger concerns. The Stoics were deeply engaged in public life and believed in contributing to society. Rather, it suggests a strategic engagement that begins with what you can control. As Seneca advised, let us be content with what we have, but never with what we are, suggesting constant self-improvement as the path to broader positive impact. The concept also applies powerfully to parenting challenges. Parents often worry intensely about their children's futures, peer influences, and the many dangers of growing up. Most of these fall primarily in the circle of concern. The circle of influence includes modeling values, creating a supportive home environment, choosing your words carefully, and remaining a consistent, loving presence even during difficulties. One parent shared how this approach transformed their relationship with their teenager. I realized I was spending most of our time together lecturing about my concerns instead of building our connection, the one thing that could actually influence his choices. When I focused instead on listening, sharing my values through stories rather than commands, and creating positive experiences together, our relationship improved. This principle also helps us navigate workplace stress more effectively. Your circle of concern at work might include company decisions, your boss's management style, or difficult colleagues' personalities. Your circle of influence includes your work quality, communication approach, relationship building, and perhaps most importantly, your development of valuable skills that increase your options. An important aspect of the Stoic Circle of Influence principle is that our circle actually expands when we focus our energy within it. This isn't magical thinking, but practical reality. As we demonstrate reliability, build skills, and develop stronger relationships through focused action, our ability to affect outcomes naturally grows. Consider a junior employee who feels powerless to improve a dysfunctional workplace. Initially, their circle of influence might seem limited to their own work quality. But by consistently demonstrating excellence, building positive relationships with colleagues, and tactfully offering constructive suggestions when appropriate, they gradually gain more voice in decisions. Their circle of influence expands not through demanding control, but through the effective use of what control they already have. Conversely, when we expend our energy worrying about matters outside our influence, our effective power tends to contract. We become emotionally exhausted, develop learned helplessness, and often miss opportunities within our control. The person constantly complaining about workplace problems without taking available actions, however small, paradoxically diminishes their own influence over time. This dynamic applies equally to social and environmental concerns. Many people feel overwhelmed by large-scale problems like climate change, inequality, or political polarization. The magnitude of these issues can lead to either anxious rumination or resigned apathy, neither of which produces positive change. The Stoic approach suggests starting with what's clearly in your circle of influence, perhaps reducing your own environmental impact, treating people with fairness and dignity in your daily interactions, or practicing charitable giving within your means. From this foundation of aligned action, you might join with others in community initiatives, gradually expanding your collective influence on larger systems. As Marcus Aurelius advised, don't be overwhelmed by what remains to be done. Just focus on what lies clearly at hand. This incremental approach to complex problems prevents the paralysis that comes from focusing solely on the vast circle of concern. The principle also offers wisdom for managing digital overwhelm, a distinctly modern challenge with ancient philosophical solutions. Social media and news apps constantly pull our attention toward our circle of concern, highlighting troubling events globally, showcasing others' curated successes, and triggering comparison and anxiety. A Stoic approach to digital life means deliberately shifting tension back to your circle of influence, being intentional about when and how you consume information, choosing platforms and accounts that genuinely enrich your life, and perhaps most importantly, ensuring that time spent online doesn't crowd out direct action in the physical world where your influence is often greatest. Another powerful application of this principle comes in managing anxious thoughts. Anxiety often involves repetitive thinking about potential future problems, most of which fall squarely in our circle of concern rather than our circle of influence. The more we ruminate on these possibilities, the larger and more threatening they seem to become. The Stoic response isn't to dismiss valid concerns, but to redirect our thinking toward effective action. When anxious thoughts arise, we can ask, what aspect of this situation falls within my influence right now? Even if the answer is simply how I direct my thoughts in this moment, or whether I use this anxiety as a trigger for breathing exercises, this shift from concern to influence provides an actionable path forward. As Epictetus taught, it is not the things themselves that disturb people, but their judgments about these things. By focusing on the aspects we can influence, including our own interpretations, we reclaim agency even in challenging circumstances. This principle applies with particular power to our relationships with the past. Many people carry regrets, old hurts, or lingering resentments that consume emotional energy without producing positive change. The past itself is permanently outside our circle of influence. We cannot change what has already occurred. However, our present relationship with those memories, the meaning we derive from them, and the actions we take as a result fall squarely within our influence. One viewer described applying this concept to a painful childhood. I spent decades angry about my parents' mistakes, constantly revisiting these memories and feeling victimized. Recognizing that I couldn't change the past but could influence my response to it was transformative. I've redirected that energy into building a different kind of family with my own children and finding ways to help others with similar experiences. The circle of influence concept also helps us navigate the inevitable losses and disappointments of life. When we lose an opportunity, face rejection, or experience failure, our initial focus often goes to what we can't control. The decision made by others, the timing that didn't work in our favor, or the circumstances that contributed to the setback. A Stoic redirection asks, what remains within my influence despite this disappointment? There is always something, whether it's learning from the experience, identifying new opportunities, maintaining dignity in your response, or simply focusing on the next meaningful action available to you. As Epictetus put it, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. If you're finding these Stoic principles valuable for your own life, please take a moment to subscribe to Stoic Daily X. Your support helps us continue bringing this timeless wisdom to a world that needs it more than ever. Let's now explore some practical exercises for applying the circle of concern versus circle of influence principle in daily life. The Stoics were pragmatists who believed philosophy should be lived through regular practice, not just intellectual understanding. A powerful starting point is the written exercise of actually drawing these two circles. Take a sheet of paper and draw a large circle representing your circle of concern. Inside it, draw a smaller circle representing your circle of influence. Now, identify a current challenge you're facing and list related factors in both circles. Those you can directly influence inside the smaller circle, and those you care about but cannot directly control in the outer ring. This visual representation often provides immediate clarity, helping you redirect energy from rumination to effective action. Many viewers report keeping this diagram visible in their workspace or home as a regular reminder. Another practical technique is what modern Stoic practitioners call the control filter. Throughout your day, when you notice yourself becoming stressed or anxious about a situation, pause and ask, is this something I can directly influence, or is it ultimately outside my control? This simple mental sorting helps you allocate your finite emotional and practical resources more effectively. For persistent worries that fall outside your influence, the ancient Stoics recommended a specific form of meditation. Marcus Aurelius advised viewing troubling situations from above, imagining them from a great height or distance to gain perspective on their true significance in the larger scheme of things. This practice doesn't diminish legitimate concerns, but helps prevent them from consuming disproportionate mental energy. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of role clarification in applying this principle effectively. Each of us plays multiple roles in life, perhaps as a professional, parent, citizen, friend, and so on. By clearly defining the specific responsibilities and boundaries of each role, we gain clarity about what truly falls within our circle of influence in different contexts. For example, as a parent, you cannot control your child's every choice, but you can provide guidance, maintain appropriate boundaries, and model values. As an employee, you cannot dictate company policy, but you can perform excellently within your role and make thoughtful recommendations. This role clarity prevents the frustration that comes from attempting to exercise influence beyond our actual capacity in various situations. Journal prompts can also help develop this discernment. Consider regularly asking yourself, what unnecessary suffering have I created recently by focusing on things outside my control? And what opportunities within my influence have I neglected while worrying about my circle of concern? The Stoic understanding of influence versus concern also offers valuable guidance for social media use and news consumption. These domains constantly pull our attention towards our circle of concern, often at the expense of our circle of influence. The Stoic understanding of influence versus concern also offers valuable guidance for social media use and news consumption. These domains constantly pull our attention towards our circle of concern, often at the expense of our circle of influence. Consider creating what Stoics might call information boundaries, specific times and limits for consuming news and social media, followed by deliberate redirection toward your sphere of influence. Many viewers report transformative results from simple practices like no news until noon, or social media only after I've completed my 3 most important tasks of the day. This isn't about ignorance or disengagement. Rather, it's about consuming information in a way that informs effective action rather than feeding helpless anxiety. As Epictetus might say if he observed our modern information environment, be careful what impressions you allow into your mind, for they will surely shape your experience of life. Another practical application comes in how we approach conversations about divisive topics. In polarized discussions about politics, religion, or cultural issues, most participants focus primarily on changing others' minds and aim largely outside their direct influence. A Stoic approach redirects attention to what we can control, the clarity and respectfulness of our own communication, our willingness to listen genuinely, and our commitment to maintaining relationships despite differences. One viewer shared how this shift transformed family gatherings. Instead of trying to make relatives see political issues my way, which never worked, I focused on asking curious questions, finding areas of shared values, and modeling respectful engagement. The arguments decreased dramatically, and surprisingly, People became more interested in my perspective once I stopped trying to force it on them. This principle also offers guidance for managing health challenges, both physical and mental. While we cannot control all aspects of our health, focusing on what we can influence, nutrition, movement, stress management, sleep habits, seeking appropriate care, not only improves outcomes, but also reduces the anxiety that comes from feeling helpless. For those facing mental health challenges like depression or anxiety disorders, the circle of influence principle can be particularly empowering. These conditions often involve feeling overwhelmed by circumstances or internal states that seem beyond control. Identifying even small areas of influence, perhaps taking medication as prescribed, engaging in brief physical activity, reaching out for social connection, or practicing mindfulness for a few minutes, provides concrete actions that gradually expand one's sense of agency. Tomorrow, we'll explore another powerful Stoic technique that builds on today's concept, negative visualization, a practice for cultivating gratitude and resilience by contemplating what could be lost. This approach, while seemingly counterintuitive, offers profound benefits for appreciating what we have while preparing mentally for life's inevitable changes. As we conclude our exploration of the circle of concern versus circle of influence, let's consider how this principle can transform our relationship with time itself. Many of us spend countless hours mentally revisiting past events we cannot change, or anxiously anticipating future scenarios we cannot predict with certainty. Both activities often represent energy directed outside our circle of influence. The Stoics recognized that the present moment is where our influence is greatest. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Every hour focus your mind attentively on the performance of the task in hand, with dignity, human sympathy, benevolence, and freedom, and leave aside all other thoughts." This doesn't mean abandoning reflective learning from the past or reasonable planning for the future. Rather, it suggests that both activities should serve effective action in the present, which is our primary point of influence in life's timeline. Consider how this approach might transform your morning routine. Many people begin their day by immediately checking email, news, or social media, instantly filling their minds with their circle of concern before they've had a chance to orient toward their circle of influence. A Stoic alternative might involve beginning the day with a brief reflection on your core values and priorities, perhaps accompanied by identifying the specific actions within your influence that will move these priorities forward today. This principle also offers wisdom for navigating periods of transition or uncertainty, job changes, relocations, relationship shifts, or other life transitions. During such times, our mental energy often gravitates toward the many unknowns and potential challenges ahead, most of which fall at least partially outside our direct control. A redirect toward our circle of influence might include focusing on developing relevant skills, maintaining supportive routines, cultivating helpful relationships, and perhaps most importantly, practicing the mental flexibility that allows us to adapt to changing circumstances. As Epictetus advised, make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. The circle of influence principle doesn't promise that life will be free from challenges or that our concerns will disappear. What it offers instead is a practical framework for engaging with life's difficulties in the most effective way possible, directing our finite energy and attention where it can actually make a difference. If you found value in today's exploration of this Stoic principle, please subscribe to Stoic Daily X and join us tomorrow for our discussion of negative visualization, another counterintuitive but powerful Stoic practice for developing resilience and appreciation. Remember, your circle of influence may be smaller than your circle of concern, but it's precisely where your power lies. By focusing your energy there, you not only achieve more meaningful results, but also experience the deep satisfaction that comes from engaging effectively with life on its own terms. As the Stoics understood centuries ago, true freedom comes not from controlling external events, but from mastering our responses to them.